Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly recording for F45trading.com. This week we will be discussing the week ahead here for Monday, January 13th to Friday, January 17th. Today I'm going to try to keep it light. We're still just getting going in the trading year, and price is still kind of wanting to find itself and pick the yearly direction, or hitting its highs or lows of the year as well too. Don't forget about that. And if you don't know what I mean about that, I can talk about that a little bit later. But just keep it light still. Don't get too heavily involved. Certainly study, watch, take notes, do all that kind of stuff, but in terms of leverage, keep it very light for now, until at least February, end of January, maybe February, until the market gets some real symmetry going, and then obviously, you can use your own discretion as to what you want to do. But for the first couple of weeks in January, you definitely want to kind of take it easy. So I'm going to keep the review today very light as well. Just give you a couple options on the daily sort of overview, and for all the major Forex pairs, US based, of course, and then I'll just briefly talk about crude oil, and I'll wrap this one up here very quickly here this evening. So, and we'll let you get back to your day. So, looking at the US dollar, and before we get into that, before I forget, we need to have a quick look at the news for the week. So starting out on Monday, we've got some high impact Canadian dollar Bank of Canada Business Outlook survey. Canadian dollar has been, the Canadian economy has been fairly weak, and like most economies out there, the world is kind of just sort of teetering right now on the brink of a major financial and collapse here. And so whether it happens this year or next year, 5 years from now, it will happen, but the numbers right now economically for Canada aren't looking that great, so I can't imagine that the price is going to, the Canadian futures price is going to be all that strong. So just keep that in mind if you are trading any Canadian pairs through this week. Going into Tuesday, a couple of high-impact news events for the U.S. dollar, CPI and core CPI on Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. New York time. And then we've got, for the pound sterling, MPC member Saunders speaking in CPI news, and that comes very early, 3:40 a.m. That's an odd time, 3:40 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. New York time Wednesday morning. So there could be something to look at there for the pound dollar, or pound cross pairs. And then a whole bunch of U.S. dollar medium impact news events, along with crude oil inventories. Make sure you don't forget about this one on Wednesday. And then we start getting FOMC members speaking. First couple of the year, actually. Going into Thursday, we've got a Bank of England credit conditions survey. I don't know how much weight that's going to throw around. They have a medium impact news weighting here, but it might bounce it a little bit, so just watch that. And then we have ECB monetary policy meeting accounts for the euro, which that will probably move the markets on the euro pairs, just so keep that one in mind. And then we have core retail sales on 8:30 a.m. for the US dollar, high impact news events, so just watch for that as well too. Another FOMC speaker going into Thursday for the US dollar, and then we have ECB President Lagarde, I believe is how it's pronounced. After they got rid of Draghi there, I having a hard time struggling pronouncing this guy's name. I should actually look that up and get the exact pronunciation, so I don't sound stupid next time I do it. And then, so watch out for that one there, and that comes late in the day. So what they could end up doing, I got some ideas on euro, but what they could end up doing Thursday is sort of delaying the run on Thursday, and then having the president, the ECB president speaking late in the day, and that could really run price up. So just watch for that. And then Friday we've got more pound sterling news, and some US dollar medium impact news events with more FOMC members speaking. So keep an eye out for that. No real landmines. Just, again, keep in mind there could be some fluctuations, especially right around the euro ECB monetary policy meeting accounts. There could be some serious movement there. So just keep that in mind if you are trading those pairs. Okay. jumping in here to the US dollar, we had a nice little push off here. So after price came down, we were watching obviously these lows. Let me change colors here. We were watching these lows under here quite closely, and price just failed on this run here, and then finally swooped down into December, sweeping all of those sell stops under the market there, and rejected perfectly. Like just it came down, ran it, and then just a complete quick rejection. Didn't hang around and think about going lower. It just completely reversed. So very, very strong movement off of the US dollar, and I honestly believe we're probably going to see continued bullishness for a little while. Now, typically speaking, seasonally, US dollar starts to fall off and get a little bit weaker the first quarter of the year, but we're seeing a little bit of strength here, and after they just ran these lows here, it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't come back up and run above the 97.40. Now, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm bullish long term. I think long term there's a lot of lows under here where we could see price continuing to run, and they may want to be searching for that. But I think for this week anyways, it wouldn't honestly surprise me if we ran this high here. Now, what I think we could do, we'll probably see, so at the time of this recording, the markets have just opened a couple hours ago. We'll probably end up seeing price run down into probably the highs of these candles. They're somewhere thereabouts, maybe a little bit lower, but I wouldn't expect too much lower than that. And I'm predicting them to run above and take out this high right here. Now, the $1,000,000 question is, how high do we go? Do we go all the way back up here to 98? That I don't know. But certainly I'm kind of anticipating a run above these two highs personally. If for whatever reason that doesn't happen and price just keeps falling off and we start getting back into this see where all these 1, 2, 3, 4 candles are, the bodies of those candles, where it's all consolidated in there. If price falls below that, then I don't believe they'll be coming back up. They'll keep falling over. We'll take this low here, and then subsequently this low, and then this low, which not a problem. We can trade that easily. But I think this is a nice big straight up bullish move here, and I think that like I say, I think we could see them take the 97.40 level here. Whether it be just a quick pop above and then a rejection back down, or a full-bodied massive candle that comes up and closes above there, and then we just keep on chugging up into here. If we do that, then I believe the 98.15 level here is going to have some weight, and it could pull price up to there. So just looking at this week alone, I think we're probably going to see higher prices. Now, we could just come right out of the gate, and certainly this could be an option as well. They could just come popping right out of here Monday, Tuesday, and then start to drop from there, which is fine. That's not a problem at all. I'd like to see Monday open up a little bit more, so before you get too fixed into your positions on the week, if we start running above this high here, I'd be looking for the sweep above and then a return lower. But if we start running lower, I'd be looking for them to just to rebalance price right in around the 96.70 to 96.80 level. We'll call it 96.75, and then from there I think we could see a bit of a pop higher, and this thing could run and do something like this. So that's sort of what I'm looking for on the week. Again, a run above these highs, whether it comes early in the week and then drops, or if it drops first and then goes higher, I think there's a very likely chance they could take that. I hope I'm wrong. I'd like to remain bearish on this pair. But this right here was a very, very strong rejection. And you can see that there. Price did not hang around this level. So that is an indication of stop running, essentially. And then you can see the immediate reaction off of it. So I believe they're still a little bit bullish on this pair, and they could want to grab liquidity above this swing high. Whether they come above this swing high, we'll have to see. But I think that's sort of what's going to happen. So let's flip over to Euro. Now keep in mind we've got these monetary policy meetings and speeches coming up later in the week. So I've got an area down here. This is sort of the area that I'm looking at. Really the lows under here and this low here. 110.30 on the downside. We've got some pretty significant resistance in this area right here, all starting at about the 111.60 level. It could certainly push higher than the 111.60 and get up into this range right in here. But I think there's a real good chance we could just kind of fall over, and price will extend lower. And I think we're heading down this way for the week. I don't think it's going to stop here. I think there's probably a good chance that they'll come under this low here and rebalance back at this consolidation level. Again, about the 110.30s level is what I'm looking at. But as with the US dollar, same thing applies with the Euro USD. Let's just wait and see how the week shapes up. Let's see what Monday does. We're seeing a nice push off of the open here on the week with this candle on Sunday at the time of this recording going into Monday. And I think there's a good chance, like I say, we're going to come up into this range in here. So I just sort of want to see how high this wants to push up. And if we start getting some hesitation and reaction, then I'll be looking at probably taking a few shorts and targeting somewhere in this level down here. I still believe the higher targets up here are going to prevail for the end of the month, maybe even into next month. But it's going to take them a little bit of time to get up there, of course. Now you can see this was the other thing I wanted to point out as well here too. Look at this trend line here. All of the retail traders, and actually, you know what, I can probably draw this a little bit better. That's kind of what I'd be looking for. You can see all the retail traders are looking at this and saying, well, that's obviously support, support, support. So we're buying down here and we're going long. We definitely, I think, are going to run up a little bit. And so we're currently at 111.30 right now. I think price could run another 30, 40, maybe even 50 pips higher for sure. In which case, hey, if you got long here, great. That's not a bad little trade. But I'd definitely be looking at scaling off the majority of your position once it got up to this level here. Only because I think what they're going to do is run up, and then they're going to smash down through here, and they're going to run that trend line right there and basically trap everybody in who is long. And they're really going to sink it deep. And like I say, you know, get down to about the 110.30. It's not a huge amount of pips if you look at it. I mean, we're only talking about 100 pips away here. But certainly if you have your stops underneath here, or even here, thinking that that's safe, you know, 100 pips isn't too far off, and they can run that in a big hurry. So just keep that in mind. But I think this is the setup for the week. I think this is what I'll be focusing in on. Right, like I say, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's going to be a bearish US dollar, and price is going to roll over here, which would in turn springboard prices up into this area here. Because again, long term, I am bullish on the euro. But I think for this week, at least, we're probably going to see lower prices than we did last week. Okay. Moving on to the pound dollar. This one here, you can see, very, very bullish coming out of the gate from October. Those October lows were set, and price never looked back other than this little consolidation we had in here where price chopped sideways for about 30, 40 days. And then we had that price springboard up into here, run the old highs, and then a very strong quick rejection. I mean, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight down days. Week and a half of trading a straight price collapse on the pound dollar. So very much in line with what Euro USD is doing. I think we're going to continue to see lower prices now. I do like where this price rejected and it went higher, but it just kind of left the door open for this 128.20 level that the price could reach for. I hope it doesn't get any lower than that, of course, because if it does, then we're going to find ourselves underneath and back into this range in here, and I don't want to see the pound dollar go lower than that. So I'd like to hope that this low here will remain intact, the 127.70 level. That's not exact. I can give you the exact level. The low on that is 127.68. So call it 127.70. Close enough. I hope that low is going to be the low set for the next little while. But they really ran stops aggressively here, and you can see it was a very, very quick rejection. So in my opinion, and then we had a failure swing up in here. Price came up and it failed to get higher than these highs. Even the bodies of the candles failed to get above that, and we have now we're seeing price reject. So I honestly believe we're going to see this thing continue to fall over. And you know, 130, again, we're 130, call it 30 right now. that is that's about a 200 pip, 210 pip range. So could be some real opportunity on the pound dollar. Now, the line in the sand, I could certainly be wrong on this. If we start trading back above about right here, just maybe put a price tag on there so you can see it a little bit better. The 131.20 level, if we start trading on this pair back above there, then this could in fact be the low, and they may want to just keep chugging this thing higher. That whole area over there in the UK with Brexit and everything like that, it's still all up in the air, so anything could happen. We've had a nice, really nice bull run here, though. You can see that. I just sort of like price to cool off a little bit and then continue that bull run, because I think their price will be above 136.50 in the near future. But before it does that, I think it could cool off a bit, as I say, and we could have a bit of a run down. We have a bit of an interim low here, and there's a good case for it to run down to the 128.20. So we'll wait and see if that happens. But certainly, there could be a bit of a range. If we lose the low from last Thursday, then that I think should be your trigger. If we have the daily close below that low there, then I think there's no doubt in my mind we'll be running for these lows here. Okay, so just watch for that. Now, one of the main reasons why I think that is going to happen, I'll just take it over to the Euro GBP quickly, and we can see what happened on the Euro GBP. We've been stuck in a consolidation, obviously, as you can see here, for the past 3 years, going into our fourth year now on Euro GBP. And when you're in a consolidation, the trading pattern, or sorry, the trade setups that you want to use are you buy the lows and you sell the highs until price convincingly breaks out of the consolidation and starts to trend in one direction or another again. Well, you look at what we've done here. So price came in and started to consolidate. Obviously, it set the range from here to here, and then it came back down. You'd buy here, price failed to get lower, and then come all the way back up, and you'd sell up here, and then you'd maybe sell into this rally here, and again, I don't know how long you'd be waiting on for it for, but price came all the way back down, rallied one more time, took out the highs, so you sell the highs, and you come right back down and just quickly and effectively ran these lows in here. All that liquidity was sitting right there, and they sprangboard down, ran them all, took everybody out of their stops, out of their positions, and let me get rid of this because this is no longer valid, and rejected. Now, how high does this go? Again, I don't know. Do we come all the way back up into here for another run higher, or do we come back up and just kind of meander around sort of the middle of this consolidation and then reject and go lower? I don't know. There's an area down here we have a bit of a gap in price that I'm looking at that could be a target, but as with the US dollar, I believe we're going to see some bullishness before it rolls over again. So I'm kind of looking to see if price wants to have any willingness to go up to the 86.90 to 8700 level. From there, price could certainly run down, and that's fine. We can deal with that then. But I think we're going to see some bullishness on this pair. Now, if we're bullish on this pair, what that's going to do, it's actually going to weaken the pound dollar. So that, I believe, is what's going to lead to this drop in the pound dollar. And that's my overall analysis on that. And I think that's why we're going to see the price at 128.20 in the next little while here, mainly because of Euro GBP and the strength and the stop run that we had there. Okay, so I'll leave that at that. I'm not going to get too much more in depth on that. We'll talk about that more with my members, of course, but for the free tutorial here, you guys can probably grasp what I'm saying from that. US CAD, quickly, very similar. We had a stop run here, price ran lower, ran those stops. This check mark should be over here. There we go. Ran these stops here, 1, 2, and rejected. Now, if, again, we're going to see some weaker economic data coming out of the Canadian dollar news front, then what's going to happen is it's going to push this pair higher as the Canadian futures contract goes weaker. Obviously, we know that because the Canadian dollar is the last pair in this currency basket. That means that it's the opposite of the Canadian futures contract. So if we have stronger US dollar, which I think is going to happen, and we have weaker Canadian dollar, that's going to lead to a stronger US CAD, okay? Now, do we come all the way back up here and start running this high and all these highs up in here? You know, again, we do have a very, very nice setup in here. I definitely wouldn't hold my, well, I should say that it's probable. There's definitely a probability, a chance that they could run all the way up here, but they really sunk price in here after this consolidation. So I'm not too sure how strong they want to get on it. I'm going to hold my reservation. I'm going to hold my position on Canadian dollar for at least this week. I want to see price develop a little bit. Let me just say it this way. If you are a US CAD trader, I believe we are going to run higher on US CAD. How high do we run, though? That's sort of the million-dollar question. We definitely ran a significant level under here, and I think price is definitely due to correct a little bit. Maybe we could even take a fib. You know, you can line that up, and maybe around the 50 to 62 to 72% retracement level, we could certainly see some movement back up into those neck of the woods, into those regions, somewhere up in here. But I think for now, I'm just going to hold my opinion on US CAD. Because I don't know how strong it could get. If it really wants to show some strength, then again, we could be popping above all of these highs, this high here, in here, and maybe even up here if it really wants to get bullish. I hope we don't go that far on US CAD, but you can definitely see the overall long-term trend. It's very much so sideways right now, to slightly bearish. So until the US dollar starts to get back in line with a bearish bias, then I'm just going to hold off on US CAD. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about that next week, and we'll see how the weekly range forms. Two more here, and then we're going to wrap this up. The US yen, every now and then I'll get on and talk about this. Not a whole lot to talk about for the past few months, since about the third quarter of last year, because you can see this consolidation range and price really hasn't been doing anything. But you can obviously see all of these equal highs up into here are, they're going to run those here very quickly. We had a very strong sell-off late into December. Again, as all the other pairs, we ran a ton of high-level areas right here and under here. And once more, for good measure, last week, they sunk price and rejected, a huge rejection. Like that right there, that's a 200 pip range. So pretty good for US yen. But at their ultimate goal, they're going to trade above these highs in here. So that's what we're going to see transpire on US yen this week. They'll pop up and run these highs. What they could do is they might leave it for a day or two. It is a let me just double check that. I believe it was a bank holiday. Yeah, the yen has a bank holiday on Sunday, so it could be a little bit quiet for that. So we could have a fairly small range today. And price could, from here, it could even drop down and retouch off the high of that candle. I'll be watching that, and then possibly pop up into later into this week. But I definitely think we're going to be running these highs this week. So if you're a yen trader, I'll let you do the rest of the math on that one. But my prediction is much higher prices on yen. Australian dollar. So this pair here has been trending very nicely. It's as far as you know, through the holidays and through December and end of November, just trading quite beautifully, trading at very logical levels, rejecting and running higher, rejecting and running higher, pushing above this high here, pushing above that high there. Now we've had price really fall off quite a bit, so it looks like it's starting to make a nice bullish run back up, and I could be wrong, but you know, certainly it could try to make this high up in here as its goal. But I think before it does that, I think we're probably going to see price roll over. And if it's going to roll over, it's going to do it sort of right around, we're pretty close to it now. We're about 96.15 right now. We could see price roll all the way up to about the 69.60 level. possibly. It may not even make it up that high. And so again, we're not talking very far away. That's only about 45 pips from current location. But I believe that we're going to see these lows here run on this week. Again, especially if we see a stronger US dollar, it will push Australian dollar over, and we're going to see a run lower. Now, a couple of levels to watch for. I don't believe we're going to come all the way underneath this low here, as long as the US dollar reverses and starts going lower, of course. But certainly we could, I believe we'll probably run this low here. That's going to be the first one, obviously. After we run these lows here, it's not just going to stop. It'll jump down below this guy here. But what I'm interested to see is if they want to also run this low here. So I'm going to be watching, for sure this one, but I'm going to be watching this one here. And then when it gets back into this consolidation level, I would hope that would offer some level of support on the downside, and we'll see price bounce, and then we can target higher prices. Because ultimately, I'm bullish the Australian dollar. We've got lots of levels above price that I'm very interested in, and they've really been sinking it for quite a while. You can see here on the weekly, and we came under some pretty significant lows here. So I'd like to start seeing them moving this higher if that's in the cards. And but I think, like I say, very similar with the euro and cable pairs, we're probably going to see them sink price a little bit lower on the week. Okay, so we'll revisit this with you guys on the next weekly review on Sunday, and we'll see if that came to fruition or not. And finally, crude oil. This one here has had a massive sell-off. So obviously we all know that there's been a lot of tension, as always, in the Middle East again. They dropped price $6, almost $7 last week. Pretty impressive. That's one of the biggest drops in crude oil since this dropped back in here in September 2019. So you can see it took them all this time up into here to build that up, only for them to sink it in 1, 2, 3, 4 days. So what I have here, I just have kind of a note just to kind of say, the low of the year, is it being set? Question mark. Crude oil typically is very bullish in the first quarter of the year. You can see we're seeing the exact opposite here. What they could be doing is very similar to what they did in 2019. I'll just go back to 2019. Where are we here? January of 2019, you can see that they ran price down for the first couple of weeks in January, and then massive springboard back up. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. There's a lot of shrapnel on this chart. Let me just clean this up here. That's better. So I think there's a good chance that price will sweep underneath these lows here, and we could return all the way back to 56.87. We'll say 57, just to kind of make an even number here, make it simple. I think that's going to be the downside target. Now, if we really start to get bearish, and this is what I've been looking at, and I posted a couple of tweets about this and on my Instagram, and talked about it with the members in my group as well too. They're really leaving these lows hanging out here, and I really hope we don't go all the way back down there. But you can see this low coming in December 2018, this massive price swing back up. They've really been holding price off here, and this could act as support, and I hope it does, and I hope we see price come all the way back down to 57 even, and then reject and go higher. I think ultimately I'm very bullish crude oil. I think long term we're going to see price into the 70s going into 2020, but we've got to set the low first, and I think we're doing that right now here. So after it sets the low, and I'll let you know if we don't see a bounce at 57, I'll come back in here next week, and I'll let you know that we're looking for these lows here, and then if we really start falling off, these lows here. But just all this tension in the Middle East and everything like that, and crude oil supply numbers come out on Wednesday. Keep in mind, the market is oversupplied right now. You can do your own due diligence with that, and looking at the crude oil numbers and the news that's going on. I'm not going to get into that in this discussion, but just note that they're selling prices off for a reason. They ran price up into here and ran all of the stops up in here under the guise of all that Middle East tension, and then they sunk price. So why are they sinking price, folks? What are they looking for? What's their ultimate goal? Where are they heading? Where is every major institution's orders sitting? All right, they're just going to pair the orders up. So where are those sitting? I'll leave that up to you to figure that out. I'm going to see what happens by the end of the week here. If we're down to 57, if so, how much deeper do we want to go? Do we want to reject? Do we even get down to 57? So that's what I'm looking at on crude oil. But right now, if you look at this whole sort of price range, this was fairly choppy, but moving nicely. Now, I think if they're going to drop it, they're going to drop it very, very quickly. As you can see, that's what they've started to do so far. I don't think this is anything yet. I think they're going to keep going, like this price swing here and this one here. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen quickly. So I believe that the low for the year will be set by this month going forward. So that's my prediction. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here now. Like I said, I kind of want to just keep it sort of light for the week. We'll really get into some more detail going forward into the year, of course, as markets start heating up. It's just, still a new year. She's just getting set up, so let the levels do what they're going to do, and then once they make their positions known, then we can take advantage of it as always. So until next week, I hope you guys have a great week of trading. And again, if you want to check out some more of our services, please do so by logging on to f45trading.com down here, and you can see all the options available to you there in our members only group on Telegram. Some great options in there in the chat room, in the signal room, live analysis, almost daily live analysis, charts posting. There's a lot of activity in there, so you definitely get a lot of value for what we offer in there. So I will leave it at that. I hope you guys have a great week, like I say, and I will catch up to you next Sunday, January 19th, to do it all over again. Thanks for listening. Oh, and if you could, folks, could you please just maybe give this video a like, share it out? It would really help me out a lot. Thanks very much.